Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, Jeff.
Hi. Are you okay? Good. That was a much better start. It sounds, it sounds like you're lying. So we know you are, but like, I'm gonna take.
For the sake of the show, for the sake of having a podcast and not a therapy session, I'm doing great.
Okay, good. I'm glad because I wasn't ready to do a therapy session here. So instead of therapy, let's do a podcast. Chris, what did we listen to?
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeff. You know what I've been replacing therapy with for years?
Um.
That's right, death metal.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, is the answer just like obnoxious metal music? Yeah. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Hi, I'm Chris,
And I'm Jeff, and welcome to the Sound Judgement podcast.
where every episode we'll be discussing all of the important musical topics, from reviews to which member of Motley Crue is the most vile.
I'm gonna judge the officials. I'm gonna judge all the judges. It's gonna take you people years to recover from all my opinions.
So let's talk about some death metal, Jeff. What did we listen to?
Chris, we listened to Ontological Mysterium by Horrendous, which I will have to admit, because you just sent me the Spotify link, I spent almost 2 full days thinking the band was called Ontological Mysterium and the album was called Horrendous, because I'm an idiot. I just thought you might want to know that.
As you can tell from the title, our boys are occasionally excessively verbose, which may come off as somewhat obnoxious or pretentious to some ears.
You know what? Understatement. However, it did inspire me. I'm in the process of writing something. I wanted your opinion on it before we actually get to the album, okay?
Sure.
I'm writing a song in the style
of
of Horrendous. Are you ready?
Okay.
Are you ready? Okay, so I'm not gonna like scream it or anything. I'm just gonna read the words here, but this is what I've got so far. Illumination. Pale, grotesque figure, amassing in the dark. Voluminous, daunting antagonist, nefarious at hand. Lunar fortress. No surrender, no surrender. It's the story of Despicable Me, but I'm telling it in the style of Horrendous. What do you think?
I'm gonna bleep that whole thing so no one steals it.
No, it's already published. They can't steal it. This counts as published. That is copywritten, man. That's how copyright works. I'm writing a song telling the story of Despicable Me, which, for the record, I've never seen the movie.
Podcast over. This is what we do now. We do horrendous songs about children's movies.
And by horrendous, you mean they're going to be really bad, because I am not good at writing this kind of thing. So, okay, I am going to get this just going to throw this out there before we dig into anything else. I hate this lyrical style so much.
It's kind of typical of the style, but I'm not a fan.
It is, yeah. Like, I'm just going to quote, like, the intro track, just the lyrics here to give an idea of what we're actually getting into. The intro track, the track is called The Blaze. Opens with the lines, "O loosened pariah, dweller in the muted depths of calcified hearts, grant me wisdom archaic and a resolve unrepentant, blasphemous." It's like, that's what this album is. I'm not sure there's a single full sentence here in this entire album. I mean, obviously don't take that literally, there are, but they're all very short sentences. It's mostly just like, I'd say lyrically they're trying to paint images. It's much less about being written in coherent thoughts.
It's, as I've heard it called, it's lyrical imagery rather than telling a cohesive story or saying anything cohesive.
Yeah, like there are stories here, but like you need to kind of do the piecing together. They're not telling you once upon a time. They're just describing the scenario and you have to piece it together. So I will say right now, like, I think this lyrical style is really annoying. But all that aside, let's talk about the album beyond that. Beyond the generic of, like... There's a reason I don't listen to this genre a whole lot, because as a general rule, I think lyrically, I think it's just really dumb.
Well, I wanted to get the lyrics out of the way, because I think for the most part, this isn't the kind of album where you're going to be listening very closely to the lyrics anyways. I think it's kind of okay that they're kind of bullshit because they're also not necessarily the centerpiece of what's going on. They're there to fit a mood.
This is like that. There's that quote by John Carmack, who was one of the creators of Doom, the video game series Doom. Story in a game is like story in a porn movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important. I think that's kind of how I feel about the lyrics in this. Like, they need to be there, but they are not the most important of what's going on here. What's important here is just how intense this music is.
It's a real fucking ride, this album.
This is a lot. So, to ask my normal question, Chris, do you have a history with these guys at all?
Not at all. So actually what happened was I just happened to be looking at, like, you know, Facebooks and Twitters of like what are you listening to this week of, you know, new releases, right? And This is one that just kept coming up and I was kind of interested. And before I even listened to it, I was just like, Jeff, I got a couple ideas and this is one of them and this is what you picked.
Yeah, because you gave me just, like, brief descriptions of 2 albums, and I was just like... Because I remember even asking, like... Because you said one of them was a death metal album. I said, well, who is it? And you were just like, no.
Nah,
it's a death metal album.
You got a death metal album or another celebrity jazz album.
Yeah. And I picked the death metal album, because we just did Jeff Goldblum not long ago. I figured another celebrity jazz album can wait, if we decide to get to it later. Okay, so Horrendous.
And it's a little bit different because we were listening to melodic death metal earlier. Now we're listening to death metal that happens to be melodic.
Which I can say is stylistically very, very different.
Very different.
I know, like, you can get... God, metal is awful for the overabundance of subgenres. But in this case, I will say, like, these are 2 different genres, and it's very, very noticeable when you know what you're listening to. Like, if all you're hearing is noise and screaming, obviously, like, if I made my dad listen to this versus Scar Symmetry, he's gonna say it all sounds the same. But from, like, an actual musical perspective, like, no, there's a lot different here. I would guess I'd almost call this a, like, progressive death metal album, but these guys are much closer to a more straightforward death metal band. Again, they're called Horrendous. They are actually from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They're made up of dual guitarist and vocalist Damian Herring and Matt Knox. Otherwise, they have Matt Knox's brother Jamie Knox on drums. My notes here say on drugs. That's not what I wanted to say. I mistyped that. Jamie Knox on drums. I am not making any accusations as to what the man does in his personal life.
Don't start rumors.
And as of 2016, bassist Alex Kulik. I had obviously not heard of these guys before, considering the fact that I spent almost 2 days thinking that I had the wrong name of the band because I wasn't paying attention to what I was reading. So, all right, let's just get into it. I already mentioned the album opens on a track called The Blaze. So I put the album on, I put on my headphones, I put the album on. Funny enough, I was doing dishes when I first listened to it, which was maybe a weird setting to be listening to death metal, but hey, it is what it is. So you're greeted with The Blaze, which is this slow, thick, sludgy goodness with, like, a surprisingly tasty bass fill, like, 30-40 seconds in, which actually kind of gave me a good chuckle. But then just, like, then there's, like, chanting in the background, and it just keeps building and building, and in less than 2 minutes, it just builds into this giant, epic gooiness, and it's wonderful. Like, this is one hell of an opening track for an album, man.
So the thing is, Jeff, like, the way that it's kind of like black metal, but with, like, a brighter sound, like, in a brighter key, I guess. It reminded me a lot of Agalloch, which is a band that I've been urging you to check out.
And I don't believe I have, because I know the name, but I couldn't tell you a thing about them. So I know they're on my list of things I need to listen to sometime, but I haven't gotten to it.
I think if you want this 2-minute intro to be 7 minutes, that might be a band that you'd be interested in.
That might be something I need to check out then. Okay, yeah. You might have convinced me with that.
Okay.
Because yes, if I could make The Blaze more than 2 minutes, I absolutely would. Speaking of 2-minute songs, I would also like to have a track on here, an instrumental called Aurora Neoterica.
Yeah.
Which is another just, like, kind of sludgy, atmospheric thing. And it's only 2 minutes long, and man, it deserves so much more than that.
Those are both two really cool songs, yes. So what did you think of the first track with some meat on it, the longest track on the album, 7 minutes and 16 seconds? Chrysopia.
It's either Chrysopia or Chrysopia. It's Greek, and I don't know where they stress syllables.
The archaeology of dawn.
I'm going to call it Chrysopia because that's how I've heard it said, which is, for the record, it is a term used in alchemy. It's the term for creating gold. Yeah. So alchemy being the whole like thought that you can just like the word they use is what, transmutation. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. So you transmutate, and the idea is supposedly you could take lead and transmutate it into gold. Man, this sure is a song that, again, I don't want to totally just like sit here and shit on the lyrics because that's really not what it's about. But yeah, this sure is a song with lyrics.
I think I can say that about every song on this album, though.
There's a couple times that I think a little more than that.
Okay.
No, Chrysopia is actually a really cool tune, and honestly, after listening to it, despite knowing that I was going to be looking up the lyrics later and thinking this is going to be dumb, musically, I was already sold.
Oh, cool.
I was already sold on these guys. Like, these guys, again, having no clue who they were showing that in 7 minutes or so, they're being interesting and progressive without being riff salad, right? It's progressive, but in the way that's fun.
Yeah.
Because stuff is changing, and they're not just like riff, 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 riff. Okay, new riff 4 times, new riff, new riff, new riff, new riff. Like, no, it's building, and it's complex, and it's interesting, and the lyrics, again, not worrying about like the words themselves, but the way they're being sung, they don't really need to always follow some specific, here's your ABAA rhyme scheme or whatever. Like, they're just kind of adding into the noise.
Right. Like I said before, this album is a ride, and this song is a ride. Like, it takes you, like, it starts off like, I would say like almost a bouncy, heavy death metal riff. It's like proggy, but like
it's like kind of groovy almost.
But yeah, it's like got a groove to it. And then it goes like, there's like a melodic, like classic metal twin lead driven sound part that like leads into like a more chill prog rock, but it all like flows together in a way that it makes sense. It's not like the song stops to shoehorn this like slow part in like a Dream Theater song or something.
No, it ebbs and flows. Like it builds and releases tension incredibly well.
And surprisingly good clean vocals.
I was just gonna say that. I was not expecting any clean vocals on an album like this, but they are there, mostly in the background. It sounds like a man yelling and singing very loudly across the room, which maybe that was the point. But there are clean vocals actually scattered through various pieces of the album, and I thought that was a surprisingly nice mixture. Now, again, there are 2 like lead guys in this band, so to speak, and they're both guitarists and vocalists. And you can really kind of hear between the 2 voices, right? One guy is, and I don't know who's who. One of them is what I would kind of describe as more of like a classic death metal growl. And the other guy sounds, and I'm not saying this entirely insulting, but he sounds more like a squealing pig.
Yeah.
He's like a little more snarly, right?
Yeah. It's almost more along the lines of black metal vocals.
Yeah. It's almost like they're kind of coming from both ends, which is a pretty interesting mix. I definitely enjoy hearing both at the same time, although admittedly I prefer the more straightforward growly guy's voice much more than the snarl voice. Yeah, so okay, again, like we have Chrysopia, which is a really cool track for, it's not literally the opener, but as you said, it's the first song with some actual meat on it. However, it is followed by Neon Leviathan, which is, this song is badass.
It's so fucking cool.
This song is so damn good. And it's also one of the times where the lyrics don't make me think this is just awful. They're not like full coherent thoughts, but they don't, aside from the line narcotic hush to calm your trepidations, which I really is just one of those, like, you're just like you are just a thesaurus, aren't you? It's one of those, right?
They borrowed the same thesaurus as Danny Filth.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what I think of. It's like, these are people who either are just endlessly smarter than me, which quite frankly I'm sure they are considering some of the word choices, or they just live with a thesaurus in hand, because holy hell. But no, this is a really cool song, and obviously, I mean, Leviathan is, like a mythological creature, and I'll take any song about mythological creatures. I'm all into this kind of thing. And when you're starting a line, or when you're starting a song with lines like, man machine paralyzed by eyes that gleam, like, yeah, no, I'm sold. Like, this is fun. I'm into this already.
I'm glad you had a good time with that one. And then we went on to Aurora Neoterica, which you already talked about.
Yeah, which was the instrumental that I wish was longer.
Yeah. And then we got Perdition Hymn, or Partition Hymn. Preterition Hymn.
I actually don't really know. We're getting into words that I don't really understand. And this is a word, or a song, I swear to God, I sat with like the lyrics open on my computer. And you know how you can just like highlight a word, right click, and hit search?
Yeah.
I had to do that for like half the words in this damn song. I'm sitting there just like, weary Tantalus. What's a Tantalus? Google search. Oh, he was a king in classical mythology. And then I'm just like, okay, here, rise, Tantalus, unfurl your change. And then I'm seeing, arise in flame, Enochian. I'm robed in flame, Enochian. And I'm like, I know this word, Enochian, kind of. Does that have to do with, like, Enoch from the Bible? No, not really. I mean, only vaguely. So, Enochian apparently is a language that was created by a couple English dudes in the 1500s, and it's, I guess, supposed to be like the language of magic, or the language of gods, or the language of the occult, depending on who you ask, I guess. Again, these guys are a lot smarter than me.
These guys have studied their
these guys know their language.
Yeah, probably read the Satanic Bible or something. I bet there's a lot of that shit in there. That's a pretentious book.
I bet these dudes have written or have read a few different Bibles, just saying. I don't think you come up with stuff like this without diving into religious texts. But honestly, as far as the song goes, this was not a highlight track for me.
Well, what's the next highlight track?
Well, okay, I was going to say, and then the next non-highlight track from me is actually the next song. I'm just going to go to that, because it's called The Cult of... Okay. SHAAD''OAH. Shadow. Except I'm pretty sure it's just The Cult of Shadow.
Yeah.
And now correct me if you know something that I don't. From what I can tell, this is just a song about a dude basically climbing a mountain. This sounds to me like it's a song about a dude giving him a pep talk because he's climbing a mountain to go fight something.
Jeff, some of the greatest stories in biblical history are about a guy climbing a mountain. Like the one where the guy's climbing a mountain and God sends bears to maul children.
Okay, I mean, you're not wrong. I'm just saying, is this just a song about a dude giving himself a pep talk while he's climbing a mountain? Because I'm pretty sure this is a song about a dude giving himself a pep talk.
Sounds like it.
You're the master of the sea and sky, of fire and air, the thunder from above, the flames beneath the earth. Keep on climbing. I'm gonna you know how people like to quote that the Finding Nemo movie where you had what's-her-face saying keep on swimming? I'm gonna replace that with keep on climbing, and I'm just never gonna explain myself to people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so The Cult of Shadow, though. Musically, this is another really cool song.
Yeah.
This is another case where, you know what, I'm gonna forgive the lyrics being what they are, which, in this case, they're not super pretentious, they're just kind of vague and mostly uninteresting, to be honest. They really do just sound like a pep talk. But again, in the context of the song, we're not really worried about that. I don't think anyone's listening to this specifically for the lyrics. You're listening to this for the whole atmosphere they're building. And as far as pep talks go, man, this is probably one of the better ones I've ever heard.
I mean, sometimes you just need that death metal pep talk to get you to climb up.
Yeah,
the mountain,
sometimes if you're struggling, you just need people screaming at you to keep climbing, right?
Yeah, that's how the army works. Like the drill sergeant is a motivator.
That's sure one way to put it, I guess. All right, moving on. Chris, how the hell are you saying the name of the next song? Because I don't know.
Exegesis.
Exegenesis? EXEG, and then in parentheses, EN, and then ESIS.
Play on
Exegenesis.
It's a play on Genesis and exegesis.
I guess. I mean, obvious. Okay, so I can read this entire song because lyrically this is the shortest thing here.
Yeah.
Obelisk to creation, molecular assembly, dancing in the Garden of Eden. Ionize, hybridize, sensitize, idolize. The ontological Mysterium. I'm guessing this is something about Genesis because we have the Garden of Eden. And then the ontological Mysterium, I guess we didn't really bother explaining that phrase. I'm guessing means something along the lines of, like, the mysteries of life and why are we here.
Yeah.
So I guess this is a song about Genesis. This is the song that, however, did inspire me to write a song about the Minions, for the record. This is specifically the song that got me thinking. But also, I can't get over hearing ionize, hybridize, sensitize, idolize without wanting to keep it going.
Yeah.
Right?
Harder,
like,
better, faster, stronger.
Yeah. No. Or like, I was, for some reason in my head, what I kept thinking was the phrase fluoridize, like as in to consume fluoride, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to make this a song about how fluoride in the water is going to brainwash us all.
All right, Alex. Yeah, I don't know. I'm always confused when they do the 2-word combination song title. Which one I'm supposed to like?
What I'm supposed to latch onto.
From. Anyways, I know we have 2 songs left, but
yeah,
I think I'm just gonna give a spoiler here.
Yeah. One
of my notes is that this is an album of 9 really good songs, and also Exegesis is here.
Oh, so you're not a fan. All right.
It didn't really do much for me.
I mean, it didn't really... It's fine. It's a cool song. Again, it's the one that inspired the Minion poem up there. Or the Despicable Me, I think, is what I was trying to base it on. Again, I've never actually seen these movies, so I don't really know. I know one of them has something to do with a lunar base, and there's a dude named Dr. Nefarious.
It really just sounds like you're talking about the Sonic the Hedgehog video game plot. Yeah, the one where they go into space and they have the moon base.
That's Sonic Adventure 2, isn't it?
Yeah,
exactly.
And then they start the Cult of Shadow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Sure, perfect.
So is this? So wait, is this album a Sonic the Hedgehog concept album?
Is this a Sonic the Hedgehog concept album? No, it is not.
is the ancient mythical beast that they're trying to summon the little dinosaur at the bottom of the space station that you had to fight at the end is Supersonic?
Oh, I actually forgot that was even a thing, because I'll be honest, I've played the end of that game once. I honestly just played the opening half of the game over and over again, and then I would get bored. So I actually don't remember the end very well.
It's fine. The first level was the best. It peaked really fast.
Oh, yeah. God, it's awesome.
Ontological Mysterium.
Ontological
Let there be light.
Yes, Let There Be Light is literally how it opens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, Let There Be Light. No, Ontological Mysterium is probably the next, super interesting musical song. Like song musically, right? This is the next, really proggy, but in a fun and interesting way. It has really great riffs. What stands out the most to me is this song has such a damn cool guitar solo, right? It's on the verge of chaotic, just close to the edge of feeling out of place, right? So there's this fine line, okay? You have Vernon Reed's solo from Cult of Personality by Living Colour, right? And then you have everything Kerry King has ever done. Okay? And in between is the fine line of chaotic perfection. Okay, if you go too far to Kerry King, your solos make no sense and they're just complete bullshit, right? And just on the other end is Vernon Reed's perfection, which is the craziness in Cult of Personality. And I would say the solo in this, in Ontological Mysterium, is right up there with Vernon Reed's level of just like, it is just chaotic enough to almost feel uncomfortable, but it's not Kerry King.
Right.
Like, it feels like he actually knew what he was doing. Oh, man, it's good. But I do, however, have to draw the line at the phrase unalive because they say it multiple times. And it just makes me think of TikTok.
Yeah,
where you can't say killed yourself or suicide or dead or whatever. You have to say he unalived himself.
Yeah,
Can we just go back to the 4chan days and use the phrase "an hero"? Can we bring that back?
Well, you know where we can bring back An Hero is the Minions death metal concept album.
Exactly. Perfect. Except I don't think anyone kills themselves in the Minions movies. At least I sure hope not.
It makes a lot of people who watch it want to be An Hero.
Okay, fine. I'll see if I can work that in somewhere.
As soon as I see a minion on a screen, I want an An Hero. Be An Hero.
God damn it. But yeah, okay. Ontological Mysterium, again, we're referencing it. Again, like as you already said, let there be light, behold the Garden of Eden. So again, we're getting into these biblical Genesis references. In fact, they even say the word Genesis at some point, I believe, if I remember correctly. But this is another one where lyrically I just kind of look at it and go like, you're just throwing words out. It's okay because the song is awesome. But I also have a question because I had already quoted earlier, and I'm drawing a blank on which song uses the phrase calcified hearts. But in this case, they say triumphant obelisk calcified. And I just want to know what the hell this dude has up. Like, what is up with calcified things? Is there, like, I feel like there's so much I'm missing. I want someone to explain this album to me.
You think there's like a concept that we missed or something?
I think there kind of has to be, just because there is so much overlap, but I don't think I'm smart enough to understand what the overlap is.
You know what? I have other albums I felt that way about, where it's like, you keep going back to these, like, specific lyrical themes.
Yeah, you've made this reference multiple times. There has to be a point here.
And there's like a link that I feel like I'm missing.
So I don't know what it is.
It reminds me of that. This is like a fucking side tangent. It reminds me of this album that I like by Hammers of Misfortune, where I've always like felt like it's a concept album, but I never like understood the story until I found out that the record label made them cut like 4 tracks that are like important parts of the story.
Oh my god.
But like they were probably like less musically interesting than the songs that made the album. So like the opener's gone. Like the opening song that like begins the story is like didn't make the album.
Explains.
Yeah.
The song that explains what you're about to listen to, like the prologue.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I'm sorry, who is this? Who did this?
That's Hammers of Misfortune. That's like the guy from Slough-Egg's side project.
Okay. Oh, that's funny. I mean, that's stupid, but that's funny.
And then, Jeff.
Yeah.
The greatest diss track since Queen wrote Death on Two Legs.
Go on.
I don't know who they were mad at when they wrote The Death Knell Ringeth, but Toothless Cretin, blind to the promise of spring, anemic dinosaur drunk on nostalgia.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because this song has my favorite lyrics on the album. By far. Oh my, okay, you mentioned the best part. Anemic dinosaur drunk on nostalgia, clinging to crumbling walls, wipe that grin off your smug face before I teach you what life's about. Oh my god, what an awesome, fun, campy, ridiculous line.
This is my favorite shit since Freddie Mercury wrote "You're a sewer rat decaying in a cesspool of pride."
So it's funny because I did not think of this as like a diss track. I can totally see that because it also says things like small-minded misfit. But man, this is such a fun and cool song. And again, it has some of the best damn lines on the album.
I'm going to hold on to some of these quotes for the next time I'm in an argument.
Oh, absolutely. I need to remember to call somebody an anemic dinosaur.
Drunk on nostalgia.
And hagfish eyes. Oh, yeah. God, this is such a great one. But also, like, it's a badass song.
You dense automaton.
Yeah, this is another one. Like, this is just a badass song. This is such a cool song.
What a closer.
This is the best closer I could have possibly imagined for an album like this. Chris, like I said, the lyrics are stupid for the most part. I have a lot of issues with this lyrical style, but as we said, like, it's part of the genre. That's not why you're here. They are meant to be part of the soundscape of the music, and I'm not going to fault it for that too much.
It's so fun, it's easy to look past.
Yeah, it's a good enough album otherwise that I can forgive it. Like if the album otherwise were uninteresting, the lyrics would probably bother me more. You know what I mean? But because this is such an interesting and such a cool album for the most part, I am forgiving the lyrics. Ontological Mysterium by Horrendous, I give a 4 out of 5. This is a really great album.
I have written down 8 out of 10, which is just multiplied by 2 to piss you off.
Well, I used to do 10s. I just try and do 5s because I like that system better. It makes me, it forces me to not sit on the fence, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't say 5 out of 10. Like, no, I need to pick a side. So I like 4 out of 5 because it forces me to make a decision here. Or I just like out of 5, not 4 out of 5. But I'm giving this a 4 out of 5. This was a lot of fun. I'm not super into death metal, but like, you know what? This was interesting and crazy enough.
It's a fun ride, and it's 40 minutes. It's not.
I want to say, it's not a long album.
This might be some of my favorite death metal since the band Death.
Okay,
which is high praise for me.
That is cool to know. Okay,
that is insanely high praise for me. Like, Death's one of my favorite bands.
All right, good to know then. Yeah, this was a good time. This was a good pick, Christopher. I like it.
Good. I'm glad you liked it. I was a little worried it might be a little too riff salad for you, but I'm glad that's not.
No, because they did it well. I mean, there's moments, but I'm not going to rip it apart for it. There's moments where it, like, kind of verges on that, but again, they do a good enough job. They are interesting enough musically to build off of it. Again, like, this is all about building and releasing tension, which, I mean, mind you, this whole album on a scale of stress is at least a 7 out of 10. Like, it never really relaxes. But they're really good at shifting between 7 and 10, you know?
Right.
Which is what it's all about.
It's also cool that this is such a melodic album, but it still has that beefy, heavy sound production of something heavier like Cannibal Corpse. Like, this is not a melodic death metal album with, like, power metal influence, really.
No.
There's some classic metal and power influence in the solos and the twin leads that happen sometimes. But the overall, the production and the sound and the tone is very death metal.
Yes. Oh, very much so.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry. This is why I have tea. Got that big nose problem, man. You know what it's like.
Okay. Oh yeah, I do. I have a huge nose. You know what they say about guys with big noses, right, Jeff?
Yeah, they're typically considered conventionally unattractive. Or they're Leonard Bernstein, I don't know.
Oh, that's true. Thanks for reminding me of that first one, though. But I was going to say their colds and allergies are horrendous.
Son of a bitch.